Bitcoin is dropping below 60,000 again. But what this all means now for Kaspa, XRP, Internet Computer, and many other altcoins. All the key data for you right now. Hi, I'm Marius from 10x Analytics, and on my channel, it's all about data and not about hype. We're looking at the overall macro data again so that you ultimately understand the big picture, because it's always extremely important to first understand the entire market. And then, as always, we'll dive into the chart analyses and take a look as usual at Supra, Kaspa, Sui, Internet Computer, XRP, and see where we stand right now when exciting entry zones might emerge, but also the question, of course, of how low it can really go. We'll do all that now, but let's start first with the complete data. The fear and greed area is in the 15 range, so extreme fear in the market. Of course, the lower the price goes, the more panic there always is, naturally. And the fear and greed index essentially shows several things, which also include, for example, the social media sector. There seems to be extreme fear at the moment. It's a very low level and it's also classified as bearish based on the data. Then we come to the Altcoin Season Index, which basically just indicates whether altcoins are performing stronger or Bitcoin. We're currently at 46, which means we're in Bitcoin season, so Bitcoin is structurally performing better than altcoins. That's also more of a bearish sign, at least for altcoins. Bitcoin dominance is similar. It's at about 55.7%. It's gone down a bit, which suggests that some have actually shifted into altcoins now because they probably think the bottom has been reached. Why the bottom hasn't been reached yet, in my view, we'll get to that in a moment in the chart analysis. Then the crypto market cap, yes, that has continued to fall, of course, over the last week and is relatively low, especially compared to the stock market. That's also rather bearish at the moment. Then the funding rates, so for derivatives, meaning those who trade with leverage, and the funding rates are essentially, well, actually bullish, which is good for a start. Open interest is also, I'd say, at about 45 trillion. It's gone down a bit, but generally rather bearish over the last 24 hours. And liquidations, for example, of longs or shorts are also rather bearish because an extreme number of longs were flushed out. Doesn't surprise me, it's always like that when the market rises. Then the market makers are there and naturally want to, in plain English, pick up these long positions. And that means that ultimately the price is dumped and the longs are then liquidated, of course. And that has also happened here in extremely high numbers. Then we come to the flows, and again, liquidity. Liquidity is indeed a major driver. Logically, assets perform when liquidity flows in. On one hand, we have the Bitcoin ETF, for example. The flows are rather bearish, down nearly 700 million. So that's another sign that institutions are now exiting Bitcoin and going risk off again. So as I said, a bearish sign. I've mentioned exchange flows before. It basically means whether Bitcoins are being sent to a centralized exchange like Binance or not. If they're on the exchange or being sent there, that's naturally a sign. Okay, someone might be considering, well, selling their Bitcoins. And that is also a bearish sign. Then stablecoin liquidity, meaning how much of the total market liquidity is in stablecoins, is also such a sign. The more liquidity there is, let's say, the more it means it's going into stablecoins where something might have been sold. And people are putting themselves into a kind of waiting position. That's also to be classified as rather bearish at the moment. Then the M2 money supply, which is ultimately in the neutral range, also depends a bit on interest rate policy, neutral range here. Then we come to the macro data, and the macro ones are generally also rather bearish. The DXY, for example, US 10Y and the VIX, all in the bearish range, so macro data is also rather poor. Then the Federal Reserve, the Central Bank of America, it's all about interest rates there. The effective rate is currently steady, with the next meeting on the 29th of July, and 65% still predict that there will be a pause. If interest rates are lowered, that's positive because, in plain English, people get cheaper loans and can consume more, for example. If interest rates are higher, then the exact opposite happens, especially negative for risk assets like crypto. Yes. Then what are the next catalysts? We have the FOMC meeting on the 29th, as already mentioned. The inflation data is on the 14th of July, very important. And some Bitcoin and Ethereum options are expiring. that can always lead to volatility on the 27th. So today you should watch out today. That could ultimately lead to volatility. Before we dive into the chart analysis together, I have a cool promotion from OneKey. Right now, if you buy a OneKey, you get up to $50 in Bitcoin for free. So, a really great offer. It's running until the 15th of July. So, if you're looking to get a hardware wallet that's truly secure, and OneKey really has several options, from an entry-level model to a pro version where you have everything, then I recommend using my link to sign up, or rather to buy yourself a OneKey. You'll get this promotion where you can receive up to $50 in Bitcoin, and you're even supporting my channel by doing so. So thank you very much for that. It is an affiliate link. You can just scan the QR code here and it'll take you straight to the page. And in my opinion, OneKey is one of the best providers out there, especially for a premium model like that. Feel free to use my link and then you'll get the bonus. But now let's move right along into the analysis. All right, here we are in the chart analysis. As always, starting off with Bitcoin. Yes, my indicator, the 10x indicator, already hinted at it a bit. We had a small red dot here, meaning a bearish trend reversal. Yes, we saw a sell-off right after that. That actually lined up quite well. That was almost 10%. So the indicator ultimately shows several things so that you're not just flying blind. If we were to turn everything off right now, well, the chart would basically look like this, meaning it's extremely difficult to see anything. I have to be honest, or it takes a lot of work because you really have to recognize patterns and so on. And that's why if you use the 10x indicator, you more or less have that means, and when you use the 10x indicator, it just gives you a bit more clarity in the chart. On one hand, if a large green dot appears, for example, that's a kind of tendency that we might be forming a bottom. Red, on the other hand, suggests that we might be forming a top. I'm using the 1-day chart here, which is the most significant for me. And the small red and green dots are more like trend reversals. So if a dot appears now, a small red one, a bearish trend reversal might be due. The dots appear beforehand, of course, and only then does the move happen, so not after the fact. That means, for example, a small green dot could appear here now, which would mean, okay, a bullish trend reversal could be coming. It's extremely practical for trading, of course, to have a bit more data there. But importantly, this is not financial advice. And the dots that appear. That doesn't always mean that what happened in the past can also happen in the future. But if you want to use the 10x indicator yourself for your chart analyses, I'll link the QR code for you here. Just scan it. Then you'll get to the page and find more information. Currently, there's also a 30% discount on the first month, so you can just test it out quite easily. All the info is here. Or, as I said, down in the video description. But now let's move on. So how does Bitcoin look right now? Well, as I said, currently bearish in my view. I'm still sticking with the assumption that we could fall significantly lower. In my opinion, down here in this range between 40,000 and 50,000 in this range is an exciting entry point for me. Yeah, and as I said, I'm waiting. In the last bear market, there were about 6 big green dots that appeared until we hit the bottom. Now we're at 4. So 2 left to go. I'm waiting it out. Then let's move on. Ethereum. How does it look for Ethereum? No, a similar picture, right? It could be that we're here. It just looks rather negative, to be honest. Looks rather weak. If we fall below this now, then it goes significantly lower from the range down here if you take a look at it. We were in the middle range here, but are now slowly moving into the oversold zone, which is a positive signal for now. Still, I would wait for now because from my point of view, and also from a technical analysis perspective, it's going further down. Solana is looking quite strong. That surprised me. On the other hand, it doesn't surprise me either. We had a small green dot that formed here. After that, Solana also went up. Let's take a look at that. It's about 5%. So a positive sign for now. But even if the whole market crashes, then I'd say that doesn't help much for now either. The whole market, the whole macro data must of course also be right. That's why it's always important that you always consider both. So the macro data, but of course also the chart analysis. Then we come to Kaspa. Kaspa had a strong sign here. Then it also pushed upwards after the indicator formed a big green dot here by almost 23%. But then a small red dot, sell off, almost 17%. At the moment, yes, from my point of view, it looks rather weak in terms of the chart now. but I'm waiting here again until we ultimately have a bottom formation down here. And if you want to see bottom formation, for example, then follow me on the 10x Insider, because I also post current chart analyses for Kaspa there. Then you definitely won't miss anything, and no move. Then XRP, exciting, right? As you can see, XRP is already a similar chart to Kaspa, and here too, structurally rather weak. The chance that we'll go even further down now is definitely there. There's actually nothing new there now either. Then we come to Internet Computer. Internet Computer, in my view, one of the surprise candidates in the bear market so far, performed extremely well here. If you think about it, when there was a big green dot here, after that it rose by 73%. Now there was a big red dot sold off. But also at the moment, a small green dot has recently formed, meaning a possible bullish trend change that might be coming right now. So it could go up a bit, but then it should be sold off again. Range-wise, we're slowly in the oversold zone, which is a positive signal for now. Supra? How does it look for Supra? Yes, also rather weak in terms of the chart, right? Every now and then, a few small counter movements. There too, we're slowly moving into the lower range. If you don't want to miss anything about Supra, but also of course Kaspa and so on, then please subscribe to my channel. I really do regular updates here, but also individual videos, as I said, on Kaspa, Supra, but also other altcoins. Then let's take a look at ADA. Yes, ADA was sold off extremely after Charles Hoskinson made some rather negative comments. But we've now formed a small green dot, which potentially means a bullish trend reversal for Cardano. Alchemy Pay. Actually an exciting product because it's already being used in the real world, but they have some problems. And that's also showing in the charts. After a big red dot was formed here, we've been sold off by almost over 50%. Here too, I'm waiting for now until we're in another range down here and are oversold. Then Cronos. How does it look for Cronos? Viewers have asked, how does it look for Cronos? What's your current view? Technically, they're still strong. They're still one of the strong crypto exchanges too. It's from crypto.com, but the whole market is currently rather weak. Logically then, Cronos as well. Chart-wise, it looks like all the other altcoins really. No outliers or anything here. Here too, I'd rather consider Cronos again, consider further analysis when it goes into the lower area here. But let's also look at Hype. Hype rose extremely strongly recently, but was then sold off again. After this, it was almost 30%. Now it's made another attempt, but was rejected here again. Now it's going down again. So here too, especially as you can see, we're in the middle range. So there's still a huge amount of room to the downside. Yes, that's it for the chart analyses. If you don't want to miss such analyses, I always cover several altcoins. Feel free to write in the comments below which altcoins you'd like to have in the weekly updates as well. And so you don't miss anything, definitely subscribe to my channel now to really stay up to date. Thanks for watching. Now I'll link an exciting video here for you, you shouldn't miss it. I'm linking it here, thanks for watching, and then I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.